Salvete Spectatores, it's Masopust with a new short series focusing around the release of the third installment of the Witcher series Wild Hunt on April 19th. So it's a little bit more than 2 weeks now. Because there are a lot of guys out there that neither have read the amazing books nor played the even better first two games, at which point I highly recommend reading and playing the shit out of them. I decided to do a new little mini-series about the streamlined, most important lore concerning the Witcher universe and the major characters that will undoubtedly play a big role in the upcoming game. I haven't delved into the books before I started playing the first Witcher game, and well, although it still was a pretty amazing experience, I came to realize that I missed out on a lot of interesting, funny and revealing moments and scenes because I didn't know the lore. Of course, did I only come to that conclusion after I read the books, and because there is now too little time left for you to swallow them, just watch my short but hopefully enlightened series. This first part will focus around the world and the story, the story is set in, and some general lore about the Witcher universe. So the geographical layout is rather simple and straightforward. Mountains to the east, the sea to the west, to the south, the vast and sprawling Empire of Nilfgaard, to the north, the Northern Kingdoms. This is the place, or the places, where most of the story in the books and all of the game events so far took place, and as far as I know we won't be playing in Nilfgaard in the south. So let's have a look at the Northern Kingdoms. There is, clockwise from north to south, the Kingdom of Kedwen. The probably currently ruling monarch is King Henselt. He could be dead. That is dependent on how you decided to play and your decisions in the Witcher 2 game. You had the possibility to indirectly slay King Henselt. I won't delve into that much further, but he will probably be alive, I don't know. The chances that he is alive are higher. Kedwen is a strong empire and it has ancient claims to the southern provinces it borders, named Lomark or Upper Edirn, and there were 2 invasions in the recent years where King Henselt advanced with an army into Upper Edirn to take it, and the second invasion, as far as I remember, took place during the game, during the Witcher 2 series, and you as a Witcher had to decide if you want to side with Henselt or with the defenders. I, in my playthrough, sided with the defenders, and the outcome of that was that the King Henselt's army of Kedwen was repelled. Then let's move further to Edirn. Edirn is on the southern border of Kedwen. It's a smaller kingdom and had troubles in the recent past. It was invaded by Nilfgaard in a Nilfgaardian war and saw complete devastation and destruction. Its major cities of Vengerberg and Rivia conquered and sieged and conquered, I should say. King Demavend has been assassinated at before the beginning of the second game by the mysterious Kingslayer, hence the name Assassins of Kings of the game, and a local peasant girl, namely Saskia, has risen to prominence and led the defenders against King Henselt in the war that took place during the second game. Now, Saskia is not a normal girl, she's a kinda golden dragon. She can transform herself into a golden dragon and into her female human form, which is quite important. At the end of the game, she either remains spellbound as a dragon, which is the case with me, she gets freed by Geralt, or she gets slain by Geralt. So there will definitely be some impact because, I mean, a dragon is always a very, very powerful force multiplier. Then there are the kingdoms of Temeria and Redania. Redania is to the north on the western border of Kedwen. It is a strong kingdom, I dare say the strongest kingdom at the moment. It's ruled by relentless Radovid of Redania, the son of Vizimir, and he despises non-humans like Henselt and also sorceresses because he has some bad experiences with them, and this will come into play, I am sure, in The Witcher 3. We as a Witcher encountered him at the end of the first game in Vizima, and then of course again in the second game where the Lock-Commune negotiations took place. And he's not a very pleasant character. He's a little bit harsh and yeah, I don't know. He's young. Well, that may be the reason why he's so hot-headed. And as I mentioned, he hates mages. Therefore, the Order of the Flaming Rose, which played a huge part in the first Witcher series, which is kind of like a crusade order of our world, but also it's centered against non-humans and non-magic things and goals, and they are basically knights who are on a crusade against all non-human and magic stuff. And then there is Temeria, which is the most featured kingdom in the Witcher games. I mean, Geralt started off as a bodyguard of the recent Temerian king Foltest, who got slain by the same Kingslayer that killed Demavend. He ruled with an iron fist, Foltest that is, and Temeria was a very strong kingdom with a lot of protectorates like Bruges and Sodden. And Mahakam, the dwarven holding, I'll come to that in a second. But after the death of Foltest, the kingdom descended into chaos because there was no clear ruler, and Geralt could have decided who became the king or the queen of Temeria, but as far as we know, Nilfgaard advanced at the end of the second game and may have conquered the whole of Temeria already when we start off in Witcher 3. We will see about that in 2 weeks, I guess. There are some smaller holdings in the south and to the north, like Kovir, where Sheila the Tanzerwiller mage comes from, and some smaller kingdoms and fiefdoms, I should guess. Then there are some interesting non-human kingdoms in the north, like Dol Blathana. It's the Valley of the Flowers. It's the only state where elves live freely. It's ruled by Francesca Findabyr, or Enid Atgliana, as the elven name. It's a very powerful and very, very beautiful elven sorceress. The most beautiful woman in the world, she's considered, and well, she, through scheming, established this kingdom not long ago in the Second War with Nilfgaard, with negotiations with the Nilfgaardian Emperor, so it's kinda protectorate of Nilfgaard, but it's kinda independent. We'll see about that. Maybe it will take us to Dol Blathana in the third Witcher game. Then there is Mahakam. It's de jure a protectorate of Temeria, but they enjoy a high level of autonomy or independence, I should say. It's the Dwarven Kingdom ruled by the Dwarven High King. I forgot his name. Zoltan says he's a prick and we never set foot into it, and Mahakam is the world leader in technology and metallurgy, and of course the dwarves, and more so the gnomes craft the finest weapons, like swords with extremely sharp edges and of superb quality. Of course the witchers who wield powerful swords, like gnomish wares, and in the books Ciri wields at some point a gnomish Gühür, or how that's pronounced, and Geralt has for a short time has the sword of his friend Zoltan, who is a dwarf, which is a Mahakam Sihil, also a very well-crafted sword, I should guess. Then there is Brokilon. It's the Druidic forest to the west, in the west of Temeria. I personally don't like Dryads at all, or Dryads. They are very hostile and they shoot humans who travel into the forest on sight. They are naked women basically who are superb archers and live in their enclosed society, even more extreme than elves, who are also some forest-dwelling guys. Then there are the Skellig Islands. These are an independent kingdom, had close bonds to Sintra here to the south, and they are a little bit like our medieval or pre-medieval Vikings. They are seafaring people, they have a rough climate, a rough culture, and we will travel the whole of Skellig Islands. It's one of the major regions we can travel to in The Witcher 3. That has been confirmed. And then there is the vast and sprawling empire of Nilfgaard to the south. So Nilfgaard proper is only to the very, very south at the river Alba. It is kind of related to the Roman Empire, I should guess, like the core, the Italian peninsula, and then a lot of foreign provinces with a different culture maybe, and it stretches all up to the north until the Yaruga, and especially Sintra was only conquered very recently in the Nilfgaardian War there. Yeah, right. Nilfgaard is a centralistic state where magic exists, but the mages are very limited in their independence. They are subjects of the king, of the emperor. The current emperor is Emhyr von Emreis, and he will play a huge role in the Witcher series, in the Witcher 3 game. There is some, I don't know, some interaction with Geralt. I don't know how much we can do with the Emperor, or if there are just cutscenes, but we'll see. And Nilfgaard is a very aggressive empire like Rome in its glory days. It conquers and expands, and its final goal is to subdue all of the northern kingdoms. And during the third, I should call it the third war with Nilfgaard here, in the third Witcher game, the Empire tries to just steamroll all of the northern armies, and they have advanced through Edirne, through Temeria, and may stand now at the Cadmeni and Redanian border. There is not much else to say, except maybe I go over the races real quick. There are men, elves, dwarves, gnomes, halflings, and that's it. So elves are kinda like humans, but they are maybe comparable to the Tolkien elves, and not really. Now that's a bad comparison. Maybe more to the natives of America. They are very connected to nature, and they cannot really live with men like dwarves and gnomes and halflings do. At least dwarves and halflings do. Elves are kind of like enemies to the men. They fight them in squads called squills. They are like a guerrilla or terror group, and most of them at least. Some of them live in Dol Blathanna. And Geralt, or we as a Witcher, have not a very clear relationship with them. On the one hand, we often take the Witcher often takes their side because they are suppressed people, but on the other hand, he has experienced some nasty encounters with elves and got killed. Didn't get killed, just barely. So we always also have the decision to make in the game. I am sure to help elves or help men against the elves. Dwarves are in the middle. They arrange themselves with humans better, but also sometimes join elven terror squads. Gnomes, I don't know if they ever venture out of Mahakam. They live with dwarves and are more dwarfish, I should say. They dwell underneath the mountains and forge even better weapons. Halflings are very adapted to human life in the cities. They may be some bankers like dwarves and some craftsmen. And then there are the Witchers, which Geralt is one. Maybe you already know that, but Witchers are mutants. They get magically or with drugs mutated into superhumans regarding their strength and their skill, and with superb training they become extremely strong fighters, and they are there for killing monsters. Now, monsters are in the universe because of the conjunction of spheres. That's kind of difficult to explain. It was like two spheres, two universes paralleled, and in that circumstance a lot of magic and magical creatures just fell onto this world, and they dwell here ever since, and therefore the witches were created to get rid of those monsters. Magic is a really strange thing in that world. It is not described properly. It seems that a man or an elf has to have magic in its blood. Then it's called a source, and small children are sources, and when they get trained properly they become mages. So they are not a own race, they are men and elves, but more often than not there are women. There are male sorcerers, but they are fewer in numbers. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the magic makes them more insane or something like that. It's a little bit strange. Then there was the event of Thanet, which is very important and had a great impact on magic wielders and magicians and sorceresses and enchantresses, as they call themselves, call each other. It was a huge plot and a huge battle on the island of Thanet. It should have been a just normal conclave and a gathering of sorcerers and sorceresses, but there were some sorcerers paid and controlled by Nilfgaard, and they descended with fire and sword upon the other sorcerers, and it was a huge battle where many of the sorceresses and sorcerers got killed, and after that magic was frowned upon throughout the realms, and kings didn't trust the mages anymore, and that's the situation where we are in. If we, as Geralt, did not free Triss Merigold at the end of The Witcher 2, but instead went either with Roach or Yorwith or other buddies, there will ensue a huge witch hunt which decimates the magically able population even more, and that's not what I wanted, so I decided to rescue Triss. That should be all. I've already talked for 16 minutes now, 17 minutes, so I thank you all for watching. I hope you are a little bit better informed about the Witch universe now. Next episode we'll talk about Geralt, our protagonist. Thank you all for listening in this case, and see you soon.